What if the dragons, monsters, and final bosses in all our myths aren't what they seem? What if the hero's real quest isn't to defeat some great evil out there, but to confront the one that lives inside of us? For centuries, we've been told stories of valiant heroes who journey into dark lands to slay a terrifying beast and save the kingdom. We cheer for them. We see ourselves in their struggle. But what if we've been looking at the map upside down? What if the demons they fight are just stand-ins for a much more intimate and powerful enemy? The final boss in every myth is you, and this is the story of how facing that boss helps you become who you were always meant to be. The great psychoanalyst Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This journey into our own darkness is the real hero's journey. It's not about good triumphing over evil, but about a person becoming whole. And it's the most important story you will ever live. Think of any great story. Beowulf diving into a murky swamp to fight a monster. St. George charging, lance pointed at a dragon's heart. Harry Potter walking into the Forbidden Forest to face Voldemort. Luke Skywalker stepping into that carbon-freezing chamber to duel Darth Vader. The pattern is practically burned into our collective imagination. It's a blueprint for heroism we've known since we first gathered around a fire. You've got a hero, pure of heart. And you've got a monster, a creature of chaos, greed, and destruction that threatens the peaceful world. The hero, often reluctantly, has to answer the call, venture into the unknown, and destroy this external threat to restore order. It's a clean, simple, and deeply satisfying story. It splits the world neatly in two, light and dark, good and evil, us and them. This framework is the foundation of our myths, religions, video games, and blockbuster movies. It gives us a clear enemy to blame. When we feel lost or powerless in our own lives, these stories give us a sense of moral clarity. We know who to root for. We know the dragon must be slain. We pour all the world's problems, all its injustice and cruelty, into that one scaly beast, and when it's defeated, we feel a sense of catharsis, a victory over the chaos that threatens our own lives. But have you ever felt that this black and white picture doesn't quite capture the messy reality of being human? Have you noticed that even after a huge personal victory, that same old feeling of unease, that same internal conflict, eventually creeps back in? You get the promotion, you solve the problem, you slay the dragon, but a new one always seems to appear on the horizon. That's because the external dragon is a ghost. It's a convenient illusion that distracts us from the real fight. The most profound myths, the ones that have stuck around for millennia, were never just adventure stories. They were psychological maps, intricate guides to the most treacherous landscape any of us will ever navigate, our own inner world. Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist who gave us the hero's journey, knew this. He saw that across countless cultures, all these stories were telling one universal tale, the story of the journey not outward, but inward. So, what if the dragon on the horizon is just a reflection? What if the monster in the cave is just an echo of a part of yourself you've refused to meet? This is where our journey takes a turn, from the battlefield of myth to the inner world of the psyche, guided by one of the great map makers of the human soul, Carl Jung. Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist who completely changed how we understand ourselves. He argued that our consciousness, the part we think of as me, our ego, is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface lies the vast, mysterious ocean of the unconscious mind. And in that ocean swims a powerful, primordial creature he called the archetypal shadow. So, what is the shadow? It sounds scary, but it isn't inherently evil. Simply put, the shadow is everything you are, but don't want to be. It's where you store all the parts of yourself that you've repressed, rejected, and disowned. Think back to when you were a kid. You were told not to be selfish, not to be loud, not to be angry. You learned that certain feelings were bad and would get you in trouble. To survive, to be loved, to fit in, you took those unacceptable parts of yourself and shoved them down into the basement of your mind. But the shadow doesn't just hold our so-called negative traits. It can also hide our greatest strengths. Maybe you were told that being ambitious was arrogant, so you suppressed your drive. Maybe you were taught that being sensitive was a weakness, so you buried your empathy. Your shadow then holds a gold mine of your own lost potential, a massive reserve of vitality and creativity your conscious mind has labeled too dangerous to access. Now, here's the crucial part. Just because you've hidden these traits away doesn't mean they disappear. They stay active, demanding to be seen. And since you refuse to see them in yourself, your mind uses a clever trick to show them to you. Projection. Projection is when you unconsciously take your own unacknowledged qualities and pin them on other people. Have you ever met someone who, for no real reason, just instantly gets under your skin? Or someone you judge with a surprising amount of moral fire? That intense emotional reaction is a huge clue. It's your psyche holding up a giant flashing neon sign that points right back at your own shadow. The arrogance you can't stand in your boss might be your own disowned ambition. The weakness you judge in a friend could be your own suppressed sensitivity. The evil you see in your enemies is often a massive projection of the collective human shadow. We see the dragon out there because we can't bear to see it within. The world becomes a movie screen where we project our own inner drama. This is the psychological truth behind the myth. The final boss was never an external monster. It's the embodiment of your own shadow, and the quest to defeat it is really the quest to turn around, face that darkness, and bring it into the light. With this new map, the entire hero's journey is transformed. It's no longer just a formula for adventure movies. It's a blueprint for one of the most courageous things a person can do: integrating their shadow. Let's walk through the stages again, but this time, looking inward. The call to adventure is that first sign that your old world isn't working anymore. On the inner journey, this isn't a wizard knocking at your door. It's a crisis. It's a bout of depression, a surge of anxiety, a destructive pattern in your relationships, or just a nagging feeling that your life is meaningless. This is your shadow, banging on the basement door, creating chaos to finally get your attention. Next, the hero enters a world of trials and temptations. In myths, this is where they fight monsters. In the psychological journey, these trials are encounters with your own shadow. The people who trigger you are just mirrors reflecting your repressed traits. The temptations you face, to give into anger, to hide in fear, are the pull of these unintegrated parts of yourself. One of the best depictions of this is in The Empire Strikes Back. When Luke is training on Dagobah, Yoda sends him into a dark cave. "What's in there?" Luke asks. "Only what you take with you," Yoda replies. Inside, Luke confronts Darth Vader. He attacks, strikes him down, and Vader's helmet explodes to reveal Luke's own face. The myth couldn't be clearer. The enemy you're so eager to destroy is a part of you. This leads to the most critical stage, the abyss. This is the hero's darkest moment, the face-to-face confrontation with their greatest fear. On our internal quest, this is the moment you look your shadow right in the eye. But this isn't a battle to the death. You can't kill your shadow any more than you can cut off your own arm. The goal isn't destruction, it's recognition. It's the moment you look the dragon in the eye and say, "I see you. You are a part of me." You accept your capacity for anger, for jealousy, for fear. You accept the parts of yourself you were taught to hate. It's in this abyss, in this moment of radical self-acceptance, that the transformation happens. By integrating the shadow, you gain a profound new power. This isn't about giving in to your darkest impulses. It's about liberating the energy that was trapped with them. When you integrate repressed anger, you don't become an angry person. You reclaim the passion and the ability to set boundaries that were tangled up in that anger. When you integrate repressed fear, you don't become a coward. You reclaim the wisdom and caution that fear offers. And sometimes the treasure the dragon was hoarding is your own buried gold, your positive shadow. By confronting what you've suppressed, you might just rediscover your buried creativity, your silenced voice, or your dormant courage. Integrating the shadow makes you more, not less. It makes you whole. Finally, the hero makes the return, bringing a gift back to the world. In the internal journey, that gift is wisdom, authenticity, and compassion. Having faced your own darkness, you're far less likely to project it onto others. You develop a deeper empathy for people, because you recognize their shadow as a reflection of your own. You no longer need the world to be a simple battle between good and evil, because you found peace within the complexity of your own heart. You have saved the kingdom by healing yourself. So how do you actually start this journey? How do you face the final boss inside you? You don't need a sword or a shield. The only tool you need is courageous self-honesty. This process is often called shadow work, and it's a lifelong practice of self-discovery, not a one-and-done battle. First, become a detective of your own projections. Pay close attention to your emotional triggers. Who in your life gets a massively strong reaction out of you? What qualities in them do you judge the most harshly? Make a list. Be honest. That person you see as arrogant. Where have you suppressed your own desire to be seen? That person you judge as lazy. Where have you denied your own need for rest and play? Your judgments are a breadcrumb trail leading straight to your shadow. Second, consciously embrace the idea that you contain both light and dark. Move beyond simplistic labels of good and bad. You are not a good person or a bad person. You are a human person, which means you hold the full spectrum of potential. True maturity isn't pretending the darkness isn't there. It's acknowledging it and choosing to act from a place of awareness, not unconscious reaction. When you can say, yes, I have that in me too, the shadow loses its terrifying power. Third, start a dialogue with your unconscious mind. Jung believed the shadow speaks in symbols, through dreams, art, and slips of the tongue. Keep a dream journal. The characters in your dreams are often personifications of your inner world. Try some form of creative expression without judging the result. Paint, write, dance, whatever. Let the unfiltered stuff come out. The point isn't to create a masterpiece, it's to give your shadow a voice. Ask it questions. What do you want? What do you need? What gifts are you hiding? This work isn't easy. Facing the parts of ourselves we've spent a lifetime denying can be deeply uncomfortable. It takes humility to admit our flaws and courage to embrace our hidden depths. But the alternative is to live a life at war with ourselves, constantly seeing enemies where there are only mirrors. To refuse the journey is to remain a fraction of who you could be, with your greatest strengths locked away in a dungeon of your own making. The goal isn't to become perfect. The goal is to become whole. The final boss isn't an enemy to be destroyed, but a lost part of yourself waiting to be brought back home. The greatest adventures don't take place on forgotten continents or in distant galaxies. They happen in the quiet, inner landscape of the human soul. Every myth, every legend, every story of a hero facing a monster has been whispering the same secret for thousands of years. The dragon is you, the treasure is you, and the hero is you. The confrontation with your shadow is the ultimate boss battle. It's a fight you can only win through acceptance. It's the moment you stop fighting the monster and start welcoming home the disowned parts of yourself. The dragon was never there to be slain. It was there to be understood. The kingdom you save is your own soul, and the hero you were waiting for has been you all along. If this journey resonates with you, subscribe for more content exploring that line where mythology and psychology meet. And I'm curious, what monster or villain from a story has always fascinated you? Share it in the comments below. It might just be a clue pointing to your own hidden power.